My name is Billy Tindle, and when I came out of the Air Force in 1955 with an honorable discharge, I went to work at U.S. Pipe and Foundry in Bessemer, Alabama, which is now Jim Walter Corporation. And up until I retired a few years ago, I was a union member, a machinist, member of the International Association of Machinists for 47 years. The positions I held was I was the recording secretary, I was the chairman of the grievance committee, chairman of the safety and health committee. I was a full-time organizer for 2 years for the machinists, and I was also recording secretary for the district lodge of the machinists. I was also state AFL-CIO community service representative for the Birmingham chapter of the American Red Cross, and held that position for some 11 or 12 years. And in 1992, I was elected Secretary-Treasurer of the Alabama AFL-CIO and held that position for some 11 years up until I retired. I got involved with a union. Basically, my father and all my uncles had been involved with a union. They were union officers with the United Steelworkers at the Red Ore mines. Of course, they're all closed down now. But through my parents being involved in the unions, and they had a union at the plant where I'd been hired in at, the first day that I hired in, I asked for a card to join the union. Now you was on probation for the first 60 days, but the first day that I hired in, I asked the committeeman for a card to join the union. I signed the card, and of course it was 60 days later before I was a full-fledged union member, but that's how I became involved. The industry was fairly good, but the reason it was fairly good is on account of the brothers and sisters that came before me that had made it good. The wages were decent, the benefits were decent, but the safety rules wasn't very good at all because there wasn't much safety back in my days. And if you filed a complaint and someone from the government or OSHA or someone came out to inspect it, they naturally notified the company that they were coming out and everything was in good shape, so they wouldn't find anything wrong. But over the years, through the labor movement and contract negotiations, the health problems have got a whole lot better. The major struggles were just staying on top of the company to make sure that we reaped some of the benefits from their that the company had made, and it was a struggle because if I hadn't been working at a union plant, I don't know what the wages would have been like, and the benefits and the safety programs, anything else. But it was a continuous struggle, making sure that the company shared some of their profits with us at contract time. Sometimes some of our brothers and sisters want to say, well, the company gave us this. Believe me, the company hadn't given us anything. The unions got it for us. Because go work at a plant that's non-union, and then come and work at a plant that's union, and see which one you'd rather work at. Well, I've met a number of famous union leaders. I met George Meany one time. Always had that cigar in his hand. And met Lane Kirkland a number of times at AFL-CIO community service conferences and state AFL-CIO conferences that we had. And of course, President Sweeney, who's president right now of the National AFL-CIO, and Rich Trumpka, who was one of the best speakers, at Secretary-Treasurer of the National AFL-CIO, and was president of United Mine Workers at one time. And my greatest union leader, in my opinion, was Barney Wiggins. And there was some more. Barney Weeks was president of Alabama AFL-CIO for some 30 years. And then there was the great Eula McGill and W.O. Mazingo down in Mobile, and A.G.A.'s Trammell, who was Secretary Treasurer many years, and then president of Alabama AFL-CIO, and went on to be the Director of Labor under Jim Folsom Jr. But Brother Barney Weeks, the reason I say this about Barney, he came up through the civil rights struggle. And the ones that'll be watching this video, if they don't know who Bull Connor was, he was police commissioner here in Birmingham. And he would not allow blacks and whites mixing. He's the one that turned the dogs loose on the blacks that were marching, and the fire hoses. And Barney was having a state meeting at the old Lyric Theater, I believe it was, here in Birmingham. Bull Connor told him, said, if there's any blacks in there with them whites, we're coming down there and gonna get you. Well, somewhere Barney must have scared him. Barney's probably the only one I know that probably ever scared him, because he didn't show up the rest of brothers and sisters that was at that union meeting on account of there were blacks and whites mingling in there. So he came up through a rough time in the labor movement. One of the times that we were on strike, and this was before deputy sheriffs in Jefferson County had uniforms. The old sheriff back then was Holt McDowell, I believe. Best I remember was his name. We were on about a 2-month strike. And they came down there and just took the bullhorns and told us, move back and let the trucks in, because we were marching back and forth across the main gate. Well, this particular day they came in there and used a billy club on 2 or 3 of our members, and it was all over the world, went all over the world. And it was, in a way, maybe some bad publicity, but we were just trying to protect their job, because they did have a lot of, at that time, was bringing a lot of scabs in there. None of our members were going in. A scab is a person that would cross a picket line and go in there and take your job, and could care less where your family is doing without or not. And there's a word that I could use, but I won't use it on this video. But it's the worst kind of individual that there is. Anyone that would try to take another person's job is about as low down as you can get. The next election, we defeated that sheriff. We got behind the sheriff that was friendly, and defeated him. One other thing I'd just like to mention, we have a sheriff now who is a Republican sheriff. We've never had a sheriff in the history that would escort us to another picket line to take food and money and what have you, some of our brothers and sisters that was out on strike. Well, here about a year ago, our sheriff in this county right now, Mike Hale, furnished some deputies to take us about 150 miles to Hamilton, Alabama, to some auto workers that were on strike up there. And the police up there wouldn't even escort us on into the city. The sheriffs took us right on in, and right down to the Union Hall. Those brothers and sisters were crying, little children, because other unions around the state cared so much about them, had delivered food and money and Christmas, and this was right at Christmas time. But for this sheriff to do that, then he also did the same thing when the Goodyear plant in Gadsden was on strike, escorted our union members up there. And we've never had that happen in the history of this state. Not even state troopers would escort us to a picket line to help brothers and sisters that was struggling, trying to save their jobs, and the company is trying to break them. I think one thing I'd like to tell the next generation about organized labor is, if you go to work at a plant, do your best to go to work at a union plant, because Things may not always be right, but you're going to at least have good benefits and good health benefits. And if you do have to go to work at a non-union plant, organize it and see the difference from when it wasn't organized to the day you organized it. And always be involved in your union. Don't just carry a card. When you have a union meeting, go down and be involved. And that's one thing that I would tell the next generation.